These two gentlemen have been mentors to me. They've been friends for many years. I've watched them through their career. I always thought they were a whole lot older than me, but as it turns out, they really aren't that much older. But Bill Jones and Steve Powless have committed so much of their time to our community. You're going to hear more about that in their formal introductions. But I just knew if we could get the two of those two guys up here on the stage together, it would be priceless. And it's priceless enough that John Williams Sr. kept asking me, "Are you going to record it? Are you going to record it?" So John's will be watching this. He couldn't be here today, so yes, we made arrangements to record it. So we're happy. We're going to use that in a lot of other things that we're doing. But here's just an example of why these two guys are so appropriate to be up here together. This morning, Steve is texting me, asking me what kind of microphone we're going to have. Is it possible that I could have a coffee table? And about 10:30, Bill sends me a text. He said, "What time's the start anyway?" So I can't wait to have you two up here together. I've been honored not only to serve as the president of the chamber, but when I came on staff, the person that had been directing leadership Paducah, Stacy Thomas, had just left. And so I thought, I really love that. I think I could do that. And at that point, we weren't going to hire another person. So I decided to just go for it. So I've had the pleasure of directing the past 9 classes, and I'm with the 10th one this year, class 36. But for class 27, Jim Dudley, I know you're here. Y'all were my rookie class, and we learned a lot that year together. And for class 28, I got broken in really well. I know there are some people here for that classes too, because I was brave enough to have my daughter and my stepdaughter both in the class together. And that's why you now hear Whitney call me Sandra instead of Mom. Because at Boy Scout camp, and those of you who went to Boy Scout camp remember, it's so hot and how intense the Boy Scout leaders are about everything that we do. All I was hearing was, "Mom, Mom, Mom." This person wants to ask, "Mom, Mom." And finally I just turned and said, "You just have to call me Sandra. Stop it." So then the rest of the class called me Mom that year. But we want to recognize class 36, our newest class that's here with us today. They're not really alums yet, but they will be soon. So class 36, you guys stand up. I just am so proud of you guys. They did get extra points for coming today too, so thank you guys. I appreciate it very much, and I know that they're interested in seeing all of you. We have 41 in the class 36 and class 34. Back a few years ago when we had 30 and we had more applications, I thought, well, if we can handle 30, surely we could handle 35 or 40. That first year I thought it about killed me having more than 30, but now I have additional assistants with Molly Thompson and Carrie Dillard with us helping work with the program. So we did push it up this year to 41, and we still unfortunately turned away a lot of people that we hope will apply next year. We continue to fine-tune the program every year. The application process, we changed to online this year. I don't know if this was the result, but our application pool increased by 50% for class 36. We continue to be out in the community a lot, meeting with local businesses and local government leaders. We want members of the class to gain an increased understanding of our community. We have shifted a little bit of the class to about 25% professional development, 75% on the community IQ side. Our class project results have been amazing the last few years. In the last 5 years alone, those 5 classes raised over $500,000 for community organizations. And I'm going to go back and say class 1 is here. I know that some of those members are here. Kathy Krasillas even brought me her certificate of graduation to see. So we've come a long way with this too. But I guess, did we give you this in that frame? So thank you for keeping it all these years. I hope all of you are keeping that and treasuring it and honoring it. I know when I go in offices and I see people that have that on their wall, I am so appreciative of it, and I hope that you all look at that as a great experience that you had as well. So through the last year or so, we decided to, over the last 2 years, we've been talking about how could we expand our leadership in the community. And there's a Leadership Louisville Center that it's a separate standalone group, and they have a lot of staff and they do a lot of great things. So it became clear to us, why couldn't we have our own leadership center within the Paducah Chamber? So we have launched it, and we're fine-tuning it and getting ready to roll out even more programs. And I want to thank the leadership of Corey Hicks in 2022 as our board chair, and is also chairing the board for the Leadership Center. So Corey, if you would come up and make some more comments.
Thank you, Sandra. Sandra said it right. We launched this leadership center, and it was really some of us on the board sitting around a table at the country club thinking about how we can really launch the leadership center and some things that we can do to strengthen our brand and pull things together and really focus on leadership, which we felt like was a very important thing. And Sandra kind of looked at me, and she was, because I told everybody, I was like, just forget about the constraints. Just forget about the constraints about this can't happen, or we don't have this, or we don't have that. What would be our vision if we didn't have any constraints? And so we threw those things up on the wall, and then we decided, okay, how much money is that going to take? And I think that Sandra threw out $500,000. And everybody was like, there's no way that can happen. But lo and behold, a few months later, we raised $500,000 thanks to the leadership of CSI, Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership, Swift and Staley, John Williams Sr., and the Leadership Alumni Association, and the Chamber also threw in some money to put that together. And the Leadership Center is really a new brand that we're going to have to put all of our leadership programs under one roof. I think that what that's going to do is it's going to help us really strategically focus on leadership, raising our next level of leaders. And we developed a mission statement. I want to read the mission statement to you because I think that we put a lot of time and effort in thinking about what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to tell people about the Leadership Center. And the mission is to enlighten, inspire, and connect a diverse group of next-level leaders and to advance a robust talent pipeline to support existing businesses and be an economic driver for our local community and region. We wanted to be the place where leaders come to try to get to the next level. We need to build those next level leaders so that it'll support the existing businesses, and then also so we can work with Greater Paducah Economic Development on, bringing in future businesses, because one of the number one things to economic development is, do you have the workforce to support it? And we need to be able to demonstrate to businesses that we can support that workforce need. So we're pulling this program together. We're going through it very methodically. We have adopted bylaws, and Steve Powless and others are serving on the board. Brent and Terry Lundberg's here. And we're adopting the process to make sure that this is going to be an extremely successful organization. And we're really excited about where we're headed. We've got a few things that we've already committed to. We've put together this executive and residence program, and we've got Allison Van Hoover, who has agreed, and we've signed her up to participate in that, and Dr. Nick Brake, who's going to lead our Civic Institute program once we get that thing off, or he's going to get that off the ground with us, and then we're going to have leaders trained to support that. So I think all of those cogs are part of a very important machine that is going to help us develop our next level leaders. So we're really excited about that, and we look forward to talking to you more about that as it rolls out. And I think next year is going to be a really exciting year because we've got a lot of the foundational things together, and we're going to be moving forward on that. So I'm going to introduce Bradley with Leadership Paducah Alumni Association to tell us a little bit about Leadership Paducah. And thanks, Bradley, for being here. Thanks, Corey.
Hello, everyone. I'm super proud to be here representing Leadership Paducah Alumni Association and also my class, Class 28. This is usually when people say best class ever, but my parents raised me that if you're the best, you don't have to say it out loud, so we'll just leave it at that. We're the most humble as well. As most of you know, Leadership Paducah is an experience that definitely does not end at graduation. The graduates of Leadership Paducah program are encouraged to become active with Leadership Paducah Alumni Association. It's our goal every year to increase the number of networking and professional development activities and programming through LPAA into the future, and we hope to partner with Leadership Center moving forward to take on those roles and responsibilities of growing our organization. Our association prides itself on helping graduates of both Leadership Paducah and the Youth Lead program, which is an amazing program as well, to receive scholarships and continue education and professional development through the community and the region as well. Thank you all so much again for being here. I know it's a time commitment for everyone, but this means the world to us to come here and listen to Bill and Steve speak and celebrate the past 35 years that we've all experienced. Our incredible local businesses who have sponsored all of our participants through all the sponsorships of lunches and sponsoring our class projects and the donations that we give to charities throughout the years. We really want to celebrate those businesses as well because it's a tremendous sacrifice. More than 1,000 local individuals have completed the Leadership Paducah program. And what that means is that's 1,000 employees that have left work once a month for the entire year. That's a tremendous sacrifice that businesses make, but it's because they believe in building leaders for our community. And it's very, very, very important. The friends I personally made through Leadership Paducah are some of my best friends and trusted friends that I have. The business contacts that I've made is the people that I turn to first anytime I need anything or anytime I need to pick somebody's brain. Leadership Paducah has just been completely invaluable to me, and I'm sure it has been to you as well. Each year, Leadership Paducah Alumni Association, we present the annual Outstanding Leadership Paducah Alumni Award at the annual meeting every year. Our two most recent recipients are today's keynote speakers, Steve Powless and Mr. Bill Jones. Both are obviously amazing leaders, and they've recently experienced significant changes in their careers. Hopefully we'll be able to dive into that, and we felt like this was a perfect time to touch base with them and make sure they're doing okay. I'm going to introduce Steve and Bill. If y'all want, y'all can come on up, and I'm going to give you an introduction. I attempted to memorize your bios just out of respect, but I'm sure most of y'all know their bios are quite significant. So, let's start with Steve. After an illustrious 35-year career with CSI, Mr. Steve Powless, Leadership Paducah class number 6, also a very good class, probably not the best, but they were good. In 2021, Mr. Steve Powless, he was announced as Outstanding Leadership Paducah alum. He's continuing his role as chairman of the board at CSI. Having recently retired after serving 22 years as CEO, Mr. Powless joined CSI in 1987 as Vice President of Corporate Development. In 1989, he became Executive Vice President. In 1992, he was appointed CSI Board. In 1993, Mr. Powless was named, what happened in 93, Steve? In 93, Steve was named the President and COO of CSI. In 1999, Mr. Powless was named the CEO, only the second person to ever hold that position at CSI. He was elected CSI Board Chairman in 2017. Steve has served as the Board of Directors at Baptist Health Paducah Foundation Board, is a current director and past chairman of the Baptist Health Paducah Administrative Board, chair of Lifeline Recovery Center Board, trustee for the Paducah-McCracken County United Way Endowment, and was recently appointed and serves on the Second Chance Pathways to Recovery Task Force, a statewide initiative to address drug addiction in Kentucky. Steve is also serving on the board of the newly formed Paducah Chambers Leadership Center. Mr. Powless is a graduate of Leadership Kentucky, Murray State University, where he recently received the Distinguished Alumni Award in 2016. Everybody, let's give a round of applause for Mr. Steve Powless. Now y'all know why I didn't memorize that. You can say anything you want. I'd love it if you wanted to introduce yourself. All right, Mr. Bill Jones, after 37 years, Leadership Paducah class number 2, also an above average class. Good job, Bill. In 2022, Bill Jones, outstanding LP alum, retired from U.S. Bank this past June. He was an executive vice president, regional executive. In his position, he directed commercial, business, and consumer banking sales and service across 8 states, including Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, and Kansas. And his region produced an annual revenue of $500 million and included over 3,000 bankers and associates. Mr. Jones is the non-executive board of Bon Secours Mercy Health of Kentucky, having previously served on their finance and strategy committee of their parent company, and is also on the board member of the Commonwealth Fund for Kentucky. In addition, Bill has been involved extensively as a board member and chairman with a number of civic and community organizations. He is a graduate of Leadership Kentucky and was honored with the Leadership Kentucky Flame of Excellence Award in 2017. Bill is also a former chair of both the Paducah Chamber and the Kentucky Chamber boards. Everybody, Mr. Bill Jones. I should see who got the biggest responses there. No, if it was that easy. So this is going to be a little bit of a Q&A. We're going to go back and forth and hopefully have some fun, and I won't embarrass myself and my family. So first, I want to thank you two for being here. It's a true honor to be even be sitting on the stage with you and for us to kind of pick your brain on your life experiences and all the things you've accomplished throughout your career. So I kind of want to start with just an open-ended question, something that I'm sure you're getting asked an awful lot right now, especially with all your life changes. So, how have y'all been?
Is there a reason they do work. Well, I want to say, first of all, it's an honor to have been asked to be here today. And then second of all, I'm really humbled that you put me on the same stage with Steve. One of the things I thought I was supposed to do was what would be some of the life lessons that I would tell myself younger. And one of them was make sure you've got good role models. And this gentleman sitting to my right, your left, would certainly be someone that I would consider a role model for myself. We both moved to Paducah about the same time, weren't from here. He probably knew more people having gone to Murray State than I did. And he was somebody that I followed. We became friends, but we were more than just friends and business associates. And so one of the things that I would advise all of you is make sure you've got good role models, whether they be in your own organization or outside the organization. And Steve, as I'm sure a couple of our other buddies sitting over here, Kenny and Keith, would say, he makes all of us want to be better individuals. And that has nothing to do with business. That's just one of life's lessons. So, Steve, thank you for all your mentorship and friendship and the role model that you've been for me over the years.
I appreciate it, Bill, and I can see that you've already gone off script on the very first question. Why am I not surprised?
We've got to be flexible.
Yeah.
When Bill's up here, yeah.
But I couldn't agree more with Bill. I think that, one of the beauties of life is you've got an opportunity to surround yourself with good people and people that you're happy with. And life's too short to not do that. Bill and I moved here. We didn't know each other, but we've had a chance over the last several years to sit down and kind of think about and look at our backgrounds and look what happened to us. Someone from Owensboro, Kentucky, and somebody from Evansville, Indiana, end up in Paducah, Kentucky, and spend our life here, raise our kids here. And it's neat, and it is humbling. I'm not sure whether we're the right people to be up here speaking to you today, but we got a free lunch out of it, and not anything going on since I retired, so I thought this would be a good place to kind of hang out for a few hours today. But actually, the retirement people ask how it's going, and it's only been about 90 days. The happiest people are the people at this table right here from CSI, because I've only been in probably 2 or 3 times since that. But trying to engage, doing a little bit of travel. The one thing I'm puzzled with is my golf score has gone up by 2 strokes on average, and I've been playing twice as much, so go figure. So I need to change that habit. But anyway, it's good to be with you.
Thank you, guys. So some people would say that you two have a little bit of experience in your respective industries. Bill, you in banking, and Steve, you in fintech. What obstacles do you think that jumped off the page that you faced throughout your career in your specific industries?
Well, I'll jump in at the beginning. The biggest obstacle I personally faced was youth. I was in Evansville, Indiana. I was a branch manager for a company that covered parts of 3 states for Burroughs Corporation, which was a computer company. And everybody in the office, when I became the branch manager at a real young age, was older than me. Everybody. And then when I joined CSI in 1987, I think I was 31. And at that time, everybody at CSI had been there 15 or 20 years already. I was an outsider coming in. I was made a corporate officer. And so I learned very early on that until you find a way to build trust and integrity with the staff, you're never really totally accepted. And you have to find a way to build that bond, because without trust, employees are not going to follow you. And so you try to find ways over the years, and I found that taking over a new role, the last thing you want to do is go make a bunch of decisions very early on and change things up. You know, how many people have had a boss come in and all of a sudden he knows more than anybody in the department, and he's never worked a day in that department, but they got all these ideas for changes? That seldom works. If you ask somebody what they think and what you could do to help them, and so I found that really youth and trying to maybe be more mature than I actually was kind of difficult at times. So
Maturity, I didn't do too well with that one. I'm still working on it. So, can you imagine following John Williams Sr. as the CEO of a company? And I've followed also somewhat of an iconic leader in the community, a fellow by the name of Pat Savingros, and that's a tough task. And another one of my life lessons I did listen to what I was supposed to do. So another one of my life lessons is be yourself. And I think that's something that I recognized very early on, and I'm sure Steve did as well. He couldn't be John Williams Sr. They didn't want him to be John Williams Sr., the same as they don't want David Culbertson to be Steve Powless, or they didn't want me to be Pat Savingros. And so, but that's, as you said, at a young age, Steve, that was probably the biggest challenge is understanding the importance that you really blaze your own trail. And you talk about the industry. I mean, the banking industry up until that time was there hadn't been any change. I don't know that there's anybody in the room been in the banking industry as long as I have, but certainly you've seen it from your side of serving it. But the deal was, here was my daily, here was what I walked into at the bank. You'd go have coffee in the morning somewhere. You'd get to the bank about 9 o'clock. Not any earlier than 9 o'clock, but you'd get there about 9 o'clock, and so by 10:30 you'd go upstairs and you'd sit and have coffee again. And back then I didn't even like coffee back then. And I didn't smoke cigarettes, but that's what they did. They went upstairs and they'd drink coffee and smoke cigarettes for about 30 minutes. And by then, the mail usually had come, and they'd go downstairs, they'd open their mail, and about 11:45, it's time to go to lunch. I thought, damn, this is a pretty good gig, you know. So you'd go to lunch, and you'd come back, and, you know, you'd find something to do for a while, and then all about 2 o'clock, it was time for another coffee break, you know. So you'd go upstairs, and I thought, man, this just isn't right. And so, but that was the culture I walked into. And so, you know, I was full of you-know-what and vinegar, and that wasn't going to work. That wasn't going to work for me. So, you know, you start implementing change. And so, fortunately, I've survived 37 years in that industry. But I think being yourself, I go back to saying, be yourself, be who you are, know who you are, don't sacrifice that, don't apologize about it. And if you are in an environment that does not allow you to do that, you probably need to get out of it. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying if it doesn't fit you and you can't be who you are and blaze your own trail, then you probably need to go find something else to do. So was that better?
Yeah,
that's great.
Well.
I want to add just a footnote on that. About 12 years ago, I read a book, that The Me I Want to Be, And it was a book that really profoundly affected me because the whole context of the book was telling you to be yourself and be the you that you were created to be. Don't be the me that somebody else wants you to be, or the me that you pretend to be, or the me that other people want you to be. Because we all spend too much time comparing ourselves to others. Well, they're a great public speaker, or they dress nice, and they carry themselves well in a social setting and all that. And we spend our whole life comparing ourselves that we overlook the gifts and the qualities that we've all been given. And Bill said it, Bill and I are different. You heard Sandra. I mean, he's asking what time, and I got pages of notes up here if I need them. And John Williams and I couldn't be more different. If you know John Williams, we're totally different. But I learned that I can only do what I can do, and that's who I am. And trust me, that's good enough. And give yourself credit for that, because you burn so much time and so much energy comparing. And in today's world and competitive environment, everybody's comparing themselves to everybody else. Just be yourself, is what I would say.
That's great. That was focused on your career. Both of y'all, we address it, have unique stories of coming from outside communities into Paducah. So thinking about how you got involved and dove into our community outside of work and all the civic organizations and all the charities y'all have become a part of, tell me a little bit about the obstacles you had trying to get integrated into Paducah. We're always trying to get people to move here and feel like they belong, and how you got involved in charities, being an outsider coming in.
So I didn't read a lot of books back 37 years ago when I moved to Paducah. But that wasn't really, Steve probably got me. We started our own little book club back and forth between each other, and every year we'd say, okay, what'd you read in the last year? And we'd share notes. But networking is something that I like doing. I think I'm good at it. And so I moved here in 1985, and I was in the second Leadership Paducah class, so that would have been 87. And I really, not just sucking up to Leadership Paducah, but I really credit that for kind of catapulting me in this community. As I said, I didn't know anybody. And as you all know, Leadership Paducah exposes you to. So I got a crash course in the history of Paducah and individuals in the community, and then quickly got involved, as many of you all do, with Paducah Chamber, and put a plug in for Sandra and her team. This community couldn't be. I've had the pleasure, Steve has, of going to a lot of communities, and this community is blessed beyond your wildest imagination on a lot of fronts, but certainly with the leading business advocacy organization in the chamber, and to have somebody as passionate and energetic and forward-thinking as Sandra. So how about a round of applause for Sandra? But I don't know if today, if networking is considered a big deal. But my third, right? So my third note to self is, I didn't know it at the time, but networking served me extremely well. Not just in this community, but I got an opportunity. I think I was in the second or third, I think I got blacklisted for a couple of classes, but I got into Leadership Kentucky. Well, that opened up a whole nother realm of people. Then when the bank sold and we became part of a larger corporation across 26 states, 70,000 people, I made it my mission to try to get to know and meet as many people as I possibly could, because you never know where those relationships are going to come back to play. So I would say networking is what helps